From Emirates' huge problems to its pre-ordered aircraft issues that literally got screwed up, these are the reasons why Emirates is forced to use A380s. And we gotta start with its aircraft delays. Emirates won't get any of their 200-plus already ordered planes before 2024. This leaves the airline with only two types of aircraft in its fleet, the Boeing 777 and the Airbus A380. But this situation actually became a blessing in disguise for the airline, as they had no choice but to fly A380s to several new destinations as well. One of those being Morocco, where demand became so high that Emirates even had to replace their Boeing 777 Morocco routes with their A380s. Along with this, from 2023 onwards, Emirates resumed many daily non-stop flights to China to meet the country's high-capacity demands, which made the A380 fly so frequently. But this is nothing, because the reasons coming up later for Emirates to use A380s will simply blow your mind. So now it's time to level up to business class. Since air travel increased globally, more and more people wanted to fly in style, which meant more first and business class seats. And to satisfy these kinds of demands, most airlines such as Lufthansa, Korean Airlines, and Singapore Airlines have brought back the A380s. But when I say most airlines, I still mainly mean Emirates, because in one instance, to satisfy the demand increase, Emirates even declared to restore the number of flights going to Sydney and Melbourne to 63 every week. This means 55,000 passengers will travel to and from Australia per week. This increase will be carried out using the A380s, of course, as it's the only aircraft that can accommodate most passengers in both the premium cabins and economy class. But this demand increase didn't just happen in passenger travel. The cargo space is another reason Emirates has increased the use of A380s. And one particular route is Dubai to the UK, as the airline has taken steps to satisfy this demand by using the aircraft to Glasgow and Birmingham Airport. But while things seem positive for Emirates, it wasn't easy for the company to bring A380s back to the sky, especially with the major challenges it had to face. Most of the Emirates A380s are not younger than 8 years old, and some are even older than 12. Because of this, a lot of things had to be repaired for the old aircraft to perform as required. And one of the many major challenges was the issue of cracked wing spar. But here's the thing. The cracks appearing on these old planes was not really a surprise. And a few cracks on the wing spar is not really a safety issue either. But after a while, it does affect the performance of the wing. And since the European Union Aviation Safety Agency and Airbus already stated the aircraft that reached the 15 years old threshold needed to have their wing box checked, Emirates began inspecting the aircraft. And after the inspection, things changed, as about 20 planes had cracked wing spars, which made the airline immediately reach out to Airbus to fix the issue. Airbus's response was swift, and 60 engineers were sent to Dubai to fix the cracks. But unfortunately, mending the cracks was not a day's affair. It took several weeks to fix the cracks, and some aircraft had to be taken to Airbus's Toulouse site to completely rework the spar. This greatly affected Emirates' flight services, because after the time spent on fixing the crack, the EASA had to carry out inspections to ascertain that the aircraft were free of cracks and fit to fly. Although this was required for safety reasons, it still kind of was a pretty frustrating moment for the airline. But while the airline had to make necessary improvements, Emirates did not stop there, as they also installed some new features, which not only improved the A380 but also reinstated to its former glory. Since the day Emirates took its A380s out of retirement, they basically needed to be upgraded. So in early August 2022, Emirates announced its biggest retrofit program of the time in order to improve the in-flight experience for its passengers. The plan involved a full cabin interior upgrade for 120 of its aircraft, with 67 of them being A380s. Everything about the new design screams luxury. The cabin interior was totally dismantled and new fixtures were brought in. The carpeting and flooring were also completely replaced. But the best part of this upgrade is that it's not only for the first and business class. The economy class cabin also got a new addition, the new premium economy seating. And the good news is, these new features are already being experienced as one of these refurbished aircraft has returned to service, along with many more to start soon as well. Since comfort is a top priority, it's no surprise that many customers want to fly with Emirates. And since many people are flying again post-pandemic, Emirates had to fly their A380s everywhere, literally. One route to be mentioned is Dubai to Texas, as Emirates resumed the A380 on flights to Houston in a bid to satisfy the demand increase. Along with Texas, Emirates A380 started flying to New Zealand and Hong Kong as well. And since the restrictions on international flights got lifted, a lot of people headed to China wanted to fly with Emirates. I guess for reasons we can all understand. But this demand increase wasn't the main reason Emirates used A380s, because it turns out Boeing is the one who played a huge part in this A380 fiasco, which even made Emirates end up in a tough spot. Boeing had its 777X launch flight on January 25, 2020, which is simply perfect, as it runs on fuel-efficient engines and is also a wide-body plane. Along with this, the fact that the aircraft manufacturer promised quick deliveries of the plane made several airlines rush to place their orders, with Emirates making the one of the largest ones, worth $76 billion. But then, the pandemic came, and the deliveries got delayed. But most airlines didn't mind this because, well, nobody was flying anyways. But after the pandemic, airlines expected a date to be fixed for the deliveries. But several issues began to arise. And since then, it's been about 3 years, and counting. And still Boeing has not been able to deliver the 777X and the 787 Dreamliner that ought to replace the Super Jumbo. Due to this, Emirates decided not to wait for Boeing's deliveries and fixed up the old A380s. But that wasn't easy, as Emirates had to include several changes to it, including a few could have become pretty serious issues. Just like every other part of the plane, an aircraft's landing gear can be subjected to wear and tear, due to which it gets replaced after 18,000 flight cycles or every 10 years. And as such, Emirates was the first airline to change the landing gear on an A380. These changes started in 2018, as it helped Emirates to boost the A380's efficiency. But Emirates is not alone in this A380 race. Rivals like Etihad have also made major moves which didn't help Emirates at all. When Etihad grounded their A380s, CEO Tony Douglas constantly got pressed on whether the aircraft was ever going to be used by the airline again. And all he said was, never say never. But since the day the demand soared again, the airline resumed their A380 flights, especially the route to Heathrow, which is a busy route for Emirates as well, thus increasing the A380's competition. But Emirates wouldn't have considered so many A380s if the airline had resolved its now long-standing issues with Boeing. Boeing has been going through a rocky patch, with problems such as financial issues and production delays. But when it seemed like things would pick up for the company, the 777X's magnificent engine, the GE9X, began to show serious faults. Before that, a cargo door also got blown off during a stress test conducted by the Federal Aviation Administration. So Boeing had no choice but to put a halt in the test program and fix these issues. But all these setbacks and inability to deliver their 777X and Dreamliners costed Boeing billions as they struggled to make timely deliveries, especially to one of their biggest customers, Emirates, who got greatly affected by the delay. And because of this, Emirates CEO did not hesitate to share his frustration over the delays. Also, since the A380s made with the now old technologies, 4 engines on its wings being quite detrimental, and fuel efficiency being very low, it's pretty expensive to acquire and hard to maintain the aircraft. But since the airline got no other option, it will continue to be in use till its replacements are delivered, which in turn has become a solid win for Airbus A380. However, the A380 is not the only thing that's shining. The A350 has also become somewhat of a sensation in the aviation market due to its new and unique features. So much so that it's even brutally destroying its competitors. But how is Airbus A350 doing this? And what are these unique features that's setting it apart from its competitors? I know you want to know more about this, so just click the video right here.